All right, welcome. This is Matt McGee. We are live doing our second video chat for @U2, second of hopefully many. We're using the Crowdcast platform, and we're going to have some folks joining us here real soon. And we'll probably talk, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour about what's going on. We intended, as we're taping this right now, it's Sunday night, and we intended to do a chat like this after the second show in Italy on Saturday, and then the day sort of got away from us, as is often the case on holiday weekends in the US. So we're doing one tonight, Sunday evening, and we'll do these occasionally as we go throughout the tour, and in addition to our podcast, which is weekly, and the other stuff that we're always doing on Twitter and elsewhere. So that is what's going on. I am going to send out the link for the folks on Twitter. Our live chat is happening now. Feel free to join us. Link. Ta-da! So hopefully we'll get some folks on. It's Sunday evening. It's kind of late. It's almost 8 o'clock here on the Pacific Coast. So who knows? We might end up with like 30 people, and that's okay. But there's a lot of stuff going on. So let's talk about some news. I'm going to close this window. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so I'm closing that window. I'm going to do some screen sharing here because there's a bunch of news going on. Start screen share. There we go. Present to everyone. So U2 went off to Amsterdam after the show in Italy on Saturday. Adam sent an Instagram photo out already. Bono stayed behind in Italy, and he was speaking at Expo 2015 in Milan, which was organized by, I think, agriculture officials from both Italy and Ireland. And so he was there talking about, about stuff that Bono often talks about. The Guardian had this video, so I'm just going to go ahead and play this. We just sent this Twitter link out, so I'm just going to go ahead and play this now. It runs about a minute, a little more than a minute, and it's some of Bono's comments from Italy today.
Hello.
And then, of course, first there's an advertisement that's going to run about 10 seconds.
I am compatible with all types of investors, so I hope you're not the jealous type. Say hello at intelligent.schwab.com.
We should not use the word migrant. Migrant is a political word that is used to take away the real status of these people. They are refugees. They are running from war. And they actually liked their homes. And they're not leaving their homes because they want to live in Italy or they want to live in Ireland. They're leaving their homes because they don't have any homes. There is already enough food in this world to feed the world. It is not the lack of food, but the lack of will to distribute food that is the problem. You see the combination of extreme climate, extreme poverty, and extreme ideology. These three extremes are creating a lot of problems. And if you see on a map where all the problems have been from El Shabaab in Somalia, right the way through to Boko Haram in Nigeria, all the way along, you see these three extremes.
All right, so that's some video from Bono in Italy today. Presumably he is going to be heading off to Amsterdam if he's not there already. That was this morning or this afternoon in Italy, I guess this morning for me. And there was one or two other videos I wanted to get to. Sherry has joined us, and we have some folks tuning in on the chat, so we'll check in with everybody in just a second. But I wanted to just cover some news real quick. There is a longer version on YouTube of those comments today. This runs about 16 minutes, and I'm not going to play the whole thing, but if you do a search for, just search YouTube for Bono e Renzi, you will find the longer version of those comments if you're interested. But there was this that U2 News posted on Instagram when Bono was in Africa last week. he added a couple lines, did a little singing part to a remix of a song called Strong Girl, which is part of the One Campaign's effort in Africa. And so U2 News managed to, good job for them for tracking down this short clip of him singing that I will play right now.
You can be whatever you want to be. I can feel the strength of you next to me. You can be whatever you want to be. You can be whatever.
So there you go. I thought that was interesting and neat find. I don't know where that came from or anything like that, but a good find. Let me go ahead and undo screen share, and we'll say hello to our good friend, Sherry Lawrence. Can you hear me okay?
Good evening, Mr. McGee. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. It's kind of late for you. It's 7:48 for me out on the left coast.
Well, we just got back from a family trip out of state for the holiday weekend, and I was just pulling in when I got pinged about this, so I'm like, I'll jump on.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Well, I'm glad you did. If we end up keeping you too late, when I started the video, I said this might last, 5 minutes. It might last 30 minutes. It might last an hour. Who knows? We'll just see how things are going. And I see that we have folks in the chat. Matthew is there. Kim is there. Maria is there. Jay is there. Hello, everyone. On Twitter, Vid said she was going to tune in. I don't see her yet, but maybe she's here. So for those of you that are new to this, we should probably do sort of a like a training guide for this, right? At some point, because it's kind of new, this Crowdcast thing that we're using. If you're on, Sherry, are you on your phone again?
I'm on my phone again, yes.
Okay, so you can't see all this stuff that I'm about to talk about, right?
No.
Okay, so if you're on your phone, you may not be able to see all this. But if you're on your laptop or a desktop computer, you should see over on the right side, there's some chat bubbles up at the top, and you click there and you can type messages back and forth to us or to one another. Matthew says, love the shirt, Sherry. That's Matthew from U2 Gigs, and Matthew from that I knew way back when from our forum as well. That's before.
Yeah, this is a 93 Zooropa. Let me see if I still have. Yeah, so the sleeve has got the Zooropa on it. It's a long sleeve hoodie with the full Zooropa. Once again, I purchased this while I was in Glasgow, right when the album first came out. So,
okay,
figure
so
if we're talking Zooropa tonight again, I wanted to be in the spirit.
Which we will probably do. End up talking Zooropa. Sherry, I have a question for you. Do you wear U2 clothes every day?
I try to. I certainly have enough of them. Yeah.
Okay. I'm afraid to wear mine. Because I live in, BFE, Washington, and nobody here knows U2, so.
Well, I can swap out of them for other purposes. I do have PTA related shirts for kids' school functions and stuff like that.
All right.
But I rotate the wardrobe.
That makes sense. Okay, so back to the sort of the guide. So there's the chat over on the right side of the screen. If you're on a laptop or a desktop, you should also see, if you close the chat section, there should be on that right side window, you should see a section where there's Q&A. So if you have something that you want to talk about and you want us to talk about, you can just type that in and submit it as a Q&A or a topic. There's also polls that I can start. What kind of poll should we do? If anybody thinks of a poll question, let me know. We'll start a poll and people can vote on the polls. And so it makes the conversation just a little more interactive that way. So yes, Matthew is every broken wave on Twitter. And JV7800 is here, Kelly is here, so some of the regulars from our last one. This is the third one of these we've done. We did a test run, I don't know when. Last week? Monday night? Tuesday night?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I think Monday night I was on with Tim on Periscope, and then I think we did our test run Tuesday night, and then we did our very first one, the quote official one, Friday night after the first show, right? In Italy.
Right.
All right, and then yesterday kind of got away from us, as it seems to do every so often. So, so Sherry, let's talk about some of the other stuff that's going on in the news, and I will fire up the @U2 homepage.
Yeah, one One of the interesting things is over the years, we've come to understand that Bono sometimes can't be as trustworthy. But now that we're hearing things from both him and Edge, we might just have a little something coming out this Wednesday, hopefully.
Yeah, so this was from the Irish Times. Brian Boyd, who is longtime music writer for the Irish Times and has covered U2, going back to, I think he started being their music writer in the late 90s, as far as I know. So he's been around the block and he knows them and they know him, et cetera, et cetera. And he was in Italy for these first couple shows. And so he did this article where he says that Bono told him after Saturday's show that they're going to play in Ireland at the end of November, but there's no other details. And it said, and I quoted, the city or cities they will play in, the exact dates and venue names will be made public this Wednesday, as well as information about ticketing for the shows. So I sent an email to our PR folks, and they wrote back, and I've been offline most of the afternoon, so I just saw the email tonight, and they wrote back and said, well, I can't confirm Wednesday, and not sure if that's going to be the case or not, but we do think that Live Nation is going to announce it very soon. So it's sort of maybe Wednesday, maybe not Wednesday is what the PR folks are saying. But it's exciting. I think the thing that I find interesting, Sherry, is that whether or not they play Dublin is really up in the air, because this article, I think you can see from the Irish Independent, uses the same quotes that Edge has made in the last few days.
That were in the Belfast Telegraph, I believe.
Right. Yeah, I think so. So it uses the same quotes that have been in other publications, and yet the Irish Independent comes up with the headline saying no Dublin date for U2, but Belfast possibility. I don't quite think that headline is accurate.
No, what today's article kind of hinted at is that they may do dates both in Dublin and Belfast, which would make sense because if you look at the schedules for the Odyssey Arena up in Belfast and the 3 Arena in Dublin, there are open spots, conspicuously open spots within the schedule. For Dublin, you've got Imagine Dragons, I think, on the 18th of November, Van Morrison on the 20th, and then Simple Minds on the 29th, which leaves November 21st to the 28th wide open, which seems a little odd that they would keep a full week open. Then if you look at the dates for Odyssey up in Belfast, it could be a possibility where they could do a few nights in Dublin and a few nights up in Belfast.
Yeah, it's I mean, obviously they have to do something in Ireland, as both Bono and Edge have said. I mean, it would be, I mean, I think they'd be, I think they'd have their citizenship revoked if they went, the whole tour and did not play anywhere in Ireland. Do we have anyone from Ireland on with us right now? I wish, well, it's probably not, right? Because it's 11 o'clock Eastern, so it's, I think, 4 a.m. in Ireland, so there's probably no one from Ireland in there. But I would like to, I'm curious to know what we have a couple of our staffers are in Ireland, and I just love to have somebody that's local there sort of give us an overview on what the venue situation is there. There's, they keep saying that Dublin word, but then what's the name of the venue in Belfast?
I believe it's the Odyssey.
Odyssey, and so that will fit, but the 3 Arena would not.
Well, the rumor mills have been that the stage or rather the lighting rig may be too heavy for of a load for Dublin, or that the stage itself is too big to fit. And from the quotes today, it sounds like Bono's like, I don't care, make it happen, which would mean a variety of different things. But there was an idea floating around that, well, maybe if you shrunk the stage, which would mean that they would have to rebuild everything from the ground up, and tone it down by like 10 or 15%. But that sounds like, especially with only a couple months in between here, a tall order at best. So I don't know what their solution is. I'm sure that we'll find out about it I think that they're still trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, I wonder how, like, if you haven't been to any shows and you're a U2 fan and you're in Dublin, I mean, obviously you'd go still, but would it bother you that you're not seeing the normal production? I wonder how that ends up going over if that's what they have to do.
I I I don't think that the band want to stray from this production. There's been too much that's been put into it, and it's all about Dublin
Is
and
that
what
right?
goes on. So you really cannot strip it down. The band were already looking at taking the Ireland shows. At least this was what the rumor was, and doing it as a benefit for Music Generation. So I see it as it's going to be a money loss for the band all the way around, from whatever profit they would have made would get donated. But now you've got production costs into doing whatever they need to do in whatever arena it is to make it fit. But they are so committed to make this happen. I think that they just want to get it done and get it over with at this point.
Now I mean, we've been having chats on our staff mailing list on all that sort of stuff, and who's going to go if they announce anything, and everybody's getting all excited and all this sort of stuff, and I'm like, I can't go, so I don't really have a dog in this show. But so you I think, Sherry, are at least thinking about going, right? So if you
We are committed. This is my bucket list. Out of all of my decades of following this band, I have never seen them in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
I bumped into Bono very briefly the day before I got engaged to my husband on Grafton Street. We saw him crossing the street in St. Stephen's Green, and that was about it. That was my run-in with Bono in Dublin. But Dublin has a very special place in my heart. As I said, we got engaged there. It means a lot to me, from my family heritage. So the time that I spent there in 1999 wasn't really long enough for what I would like to do. But as a U2 fan, I haven't done that Hajj yet. A lot of people who I know have, but I haven't, and I can finally afford to do it, and I can finally get enough childcare for my kids in order to do it. So for me, this is a non-negotiable. I'm heading over there, tickets or not.
And if it ends up being a downsized show, like people are saying in the comments, MacFado said the same thing that you were saying. They're going to downsize to make the show fit, et cetera, et cetera. So if you end up seeing something that's not the standard show, are you okay with that?
I'm perfectly fine with it because it's U2 in Ireland.
All right.
I wouldn't care, but I think that the Irish audience deserves the whole production.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I'm excited for the folks in Europe, anybody that went to the first couple shows in Italy, that they finally got to experience this because, as you and I and the rest of our crew have talked throughout the North American tour, it's a phenomenal, just an amazing show. And it's, I just want every fan to see it and just experience what it's like. To get to what you were just saying a minute ago, I hope you do. I hope they do, whether it's Dublin or Belfast or whatever. I saw them in Dublin on the Pop Mart tour, and that was, religious experience. I don't,
and the big thing is, Matt, this is going to be the first time that they will be in an arena since what, 92?
In Ireland?
1990?
Yeah, 1990, right? The end of the.
Yeah, crikey. So you figure all the other tours have been stadiums with tens of thousands of people. And now they can only fit, what, 11,000 at most. So the tickets themselves are going to be next to impossible to get. And, the Irish fans to see them in their home country, the volume of external fans like myself that will be descending upon Ireland, will be taking away from the tickets for the people in Ireland. So, I kind of feel a little greedy about going out there because there's going to be Irish fans who deserve to see the show, and international folks like myself are going to be swooping in and buying up the tickets. I don't think four nights in Dublin or 4 nights in Belfast or any combination thereof is going to be enough to handle the ticket volume.
Speaking of which, I have seen people saying on Twitter, having conversations on Twitter, and I think in our forum as well, talking about fan club, u2.com fan club, and tickets and pre-sale codes. I'm under the impression that there's not going to be any new pre-sale codes issued at this point, for any additional shows that get announced on this tour. Is that your impression, or am I kind of hallucinating here?
I've heard a couple different things. I know that there are people who specifically held onto their pre-sale code for Ireland. And so for Live Nation to go back and reactivate the codes, and then double checking them to make sure that they haven't already been used. I don't really trust that system all too well. Then there's the question of, will they reissue codes specifically for the Ireland shows? Or do you need to renew your membership? There's been no communication about this whatsoever. About what the expectation is, and even the Zootopia moderators have not been informed about anything. So hopefully for those who held onto their codes, those will still be good, but that's a big old question mark.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to happen. I don't know. I can't see them. I think if I had held on, like I used up all my codes. And so I have no expectation that I'm going to get an email saying, oh, we've just announced, new shows in Belfast or Dublin or whatever it is. And here's another code for you if you want to go. I think, I don't think that's fair to the folks that didn't use up their codes already. Some of which are, as you said, we have some folks on our staff that have saved their codes specifically for, anticipating something in Ireland, in Dublin. And also, I just think that would create even, more chaos, just as you were saying, in terms of what's already going to be an incredible ticket demand. So I have no expectation that I'm going to get, at this point, another code.
Ideally, what I like to see happen is that any Irish fans with a verified Ireland address should be issued a code, whether they used one for North America or for Europe or not. I would think that they would at least give their hometown crowd that little added perk. But for rest of the world, I haven't a clue. Like I said, this is something where I'm not anticipating being lucky in a general on sale. I might need to purchase a VIP travel package, or spend the big bucks to make this happen. But this is like one of those top 10 things that I want to do before I die type of things. And my loving husband is very generous in letting me do this. I have to do this. It's just one of those things. So hopefully, maybe the reason why they're not ready to make an announcement is that they're still ironing out all of those details. It's beyond just what's going on at the venue. You've got the fan club side of things too.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot going on, and I guess just to wrap up the Dublin chat, it sounds like there's some report that it might be Wednesday, and then, as I said earlier, for those who may have been tuning in late, the PR folks said that they weren't so sure that it's going to be Wednesday, but they do expect something in the very near future. So we'll see. We should know something more pretty soon. There's one other news item. Sherry, do you have the Q magazine?
I ordered mine directly through Q, so I have not had it mailed to me yet.
Okay, so does anyone, so I'm going to ask if anyone, I'm going to put this article on the screen sharing. There's this other comment from Larry saying that he hopes that U2, starts stripping down and playing, smaller shows. Let me do a screenshot.
Oh, he's actually mentioned that in a few other interviews prior.
Didn't he mention that was
Sirius
it on
XM?
That's where it was. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, and he might have also mentioned it in the "Are You Talking U2 to Me" podcast. He would say it jokingly about, well, let's take over a stadium, rather a club, and just do a stripped down thing. Learn how to be professional musicians, or he would say it jokingly, but he said it too many times in multiple places for me to not take it jokingly, that maybe this is a real thing that they're looking at doing.
Yeah, let me show that article there. This is the online one. This is from the Irish Examiner a couple days ago, and he says, when this tour is over, we should set off on a trip where we learn how to play other people's songs for fun, record now, blah, 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 just as an experiment. That sounds to me like what he said on Sirius XM. And so it's strange to me that the Irish Examiner would, bring this back up now when that was quite a while ago.
Haven't a clue. Sometimes they just need a little something to pass the time to get the real news article out there. But if they went smaller and if they popped into a club or two, they would have to do it under an alias or a flash mob type of thing, which I wouldn't put it past them to do.
Right.
I mean, they've been known to crash small clubs every now and then.
I was just going to say, they did something like that in New York, from what I understand. In late July, on July 29th, actually, at about 8:47 p.m. But not that I know anything more about that.
Yeah, that was a sidebar story in Andy Green's Rolling Stone article about the Zooropa to Streets transition today.
Oh, cool. Very cool. So this thing in the Irish Examiner has the Larry quote that we think is from SiriusXM, but then it has, I just scrolled down, I guess I never scrolled down past the dreamy photo of Larry. By the way, how far is his shirt unbuttoned there, Sherry?
The photo is too cropped to tell.
Darn it. So Bono apparently, and I have not read the Q magazine article yet. Bono apparently said, people say you love Neil Young and Radiohead, their intimacies. Why can't you just be privately rather than publicly ambitious? And Bono says, we'll have to look at it. I'm asking a few fundamental questions. It kind of sounds like what Adam said.
Grantland.
Yeah, in Grantland, where he said, maybe we will just, start making music for our core audience and, stop trying to, to reach the masses. So it's interesting. It's interesting that they're having these conversations. So, all right. I have been I've been ignoring the chat conversation where people are chatting about Dublin and stadiums, and your husband is in there, Sherry, and he says that a stadium in Dublin in Ireland in November would be risky because of the weather, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah, they're not going to be able to do a stadium with the Innocence portion of this tour. There's no way. Experience probably, but not with this particular production. Interestingly enough, though, the Paris show that will be aired on HBO in North America, HBO's global, right? Or because this is the question that I've been asked, in other parts of the world, will that Paris show be able to be seen? So if HBO is broadcasting it on November 14th, a few hours after it concludes, will other carriers like in Australia or in Europe be picking up on it?
Great question. I have no idea how far HBO's reach expands. Yeah, we'll have to look into that. So, okay, so let's go back to we covered that. Let's go back to what happened in Turin these past couple days, and let's see.
Can I just say how great the fan Mixlr streams have been? Doris286, whoever you are, thank you. That's how I was able to listen to the show on both nights, and especially for night 2, driving back from our family trip to the zoo. We were able to listen in until I got home to the computer for the second act. But her stream was incredible.
Yeah, they were, and there was also a lot of periscoping going on. So I was pleased with
YouTube Plays had a great periscope going.
Yeah, they did. They did. And by the way, that's one of the cool things. I love when U2 goes and plays in Europe and how every country seems to have its own like dedicated fan site over there, which I think that's so cool, because it's so tough for us, being based in the US, we can't reach English speaking people everywhere. as much as, that would be cool if we could, but, like the sites in Italy, there's, 3 or 4 really good sites, and so they can go and they can reach, probably a good portion of the online community that speaks Italian and all that sort of stuff. And then there's different sites in different countries. I just think it's so cool. And they're all organizing these different, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like choreographed display.
Yeah, there's a flash mob that is scheduled for the next set of shows where they want people to wear red, white, and blue for a sort of homecoming. And in the Zootopia area of U2.com, they are doing a U2 fan site of the week now, which I think is fantastic.
That is cool. That's a great idea. Very cool. So, okay, so where were we going to go with this? All right, so Matthew asked a question over on the right side, and this is something we chatted about on Twitter a little bit yesterday, Sherry. So I'm going to click the Start Answering button. It'll bring up the graphic over the screen, and it'll make a marker so that anybody watching after the fact can click immediately to see this segment. So here we go.
Dun, dun.
All right. So Matthew asks, Mother and Child Reunion, does it still work in the set? And I am of the opinion that it doesn't. It's interesting to me that so I said on the last video that we did that using that as sort of the intro to Streets kind of slowed things down and like almost dragged the show to a halt, which is not, in any way, again, as I said before, it's not that I dislike the humanitarian stuff. I love the humanitarian stuff, and I'm glad they do it. It's just at that point in the show, it's sort of like City of Blinding Lights, and then the show comes to a screeching halt for, 3 minutes of chat, and then this slow mother and child reunion that nobody really knows, and it doesn't really, build into Streets like, Streets deserves. And so so to answer Matthew's question, I don't think Mother and Child, now that if they move Streets to the second set after Zooropa, so Bullet, Zooropa, Streets, there's no place in there for Mother and Child Reunion. So now at the first show in Turin, they played it in the encore right before One, the last song. Second show, they played it right before the last song. Still haven't found what I'm looking for. And it just, I don't know, it just seems awkward to me. I don't think it fits anymore. Sherry Lawrence?
I think that they've made a commitment to this part of the production, in that it gives Bono the opportunity to make his little speech about what's going on with Red and One and thank everybody. It ties together, like what Willie said in his Q&A with MU, the beginning of the show and the middle of the show, where it returns back to the Oliver Jeffers video and the reunion of the mother, and in this case the son, with Bono, with the whole Iris theme. I think that they've really committed to it. I like where it's at right now because it seems like it can blend into a natural closer, but I don't think that they've figured out that segue from the end of that song to the other. Now, that said, they really haven't perfected that song at all on this tour. Even when Paul Simon came up on stage in New York, he couldn't sing his own song, which was interesting, but I digress. I think that it still fits. I prefer it at the end, and I would be hard pressed to see them removing it unless they change the song altogether, because there's too much of the message that they need to communicate. So unless they find a different song to communicate it with, I think that it'll stay at least until the end of this leg.
Could it be something that, so Matthew says in the comments he thinks it could work if it was moved. And he says, after Streets as an intro to Pride keeps the focus on Africa, aid refugees that the show is focusing on now. That, I mean, maybe. And I wonder, too, if maybe it could be in place of the Stephen Hawking videos that sort of intros the encore, which reminds me of, what was it? Was it the first leg? Was it the first leg of the 360 tour, or somewhere where they started doing with Bishop Tutu, right? That was to sort of the intro, the encore.
You've got access to the tour site. There was one show on the first leg where Mother and Child Reunion started the encore, and I can't remember the show right now.
Really? On this
Yeah,
tour?
yeah. Double check the tour site,
Wow, that's new.
but
That's news to me.
but
Huh. I wasn't paying
I'm
attention.
trying I'm trying to remember, but I believe that there was one show where it did, where they had moved Hawking. It might have been Boston too,
Well,
where they
the first night that they sort of flipped things.
flipped everything around. Because they had moved Hawking earlier into the show. I think Boston too. That would have been the 11th of July,
All right,
where I think that they opened with it,
you,
opened
you,
the encore with it.
you keep talking. I'm looking it up.
Okay.
All right, Boston
For
2.
yeah.
All right, where's Boston 2? There it was, July 11th. Ta-da-da-da. This I'm sure makes for exciting video chat. Matt looks up a concert online. This scintillating stuff right now. I'm sure we're not losing any viewers at this point. You're absolutely right. Sherry Lawrence, you just...
Well, I was there.
Oh, well, no wonder you were there.
But I couldn't remember because I went to 8 shows on the first leg. But yeah, I think that opening to the encore works well, because you've already got everybody waiting for the band to come back on stage. They can have that attention span, and you start off nice and with that little lull with the hush, because everybody wants to hear what Bono has to say, and then you can still build off your final 3 songs.
Interesting.
So if it were to move, that would be where I would offer to put it, and then put the Hawking video, maybe put that at the end of Streets before you go into Pride.
All right. All right, so now we've just, and I know Willie Williams is tuning in right now, so I'm sure that we have just
Hey, Willie.
the entire show for him, and he's just like, wow, that's such a brilliant idea. I had never thought of that. So we'll take credit for it. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So in the comments, Chris, hey, our good friend Chris. Hey, Chris, how are you? He says he concurs. It feels like a mood killer. He likes the message. Just wish they would choose a different medium, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Kelly says,
you know what they could do? Just a wild thought. In the same way that they have the Fly video as an intermission between between sets 1 and 2, what if they pre-recorded Mother and Child Reunion and did that as the intermission in between acts 2 and 3?
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. I could possibly see that. Boy, we've just got all kinds of ideas.
We always offer our services to production, whether they, we've yet to get put on the payroll, but one of these days. I live in blessed hope.
All right, so we're done. We're done with that question. But our friend Beth is online too. Hey, Beth, how are you? Oh my gosh, we're up to like 35 people on a late Sunday night. You guys are crazy. We love you. That's fantastic. So Beth asks a question. Wednesday is the anniversary of the Songs of Innocence release. Too soon to think about Songs of Experience announcement? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's too soon. I don't get the impression that they're quite ready for it, right? What was the Q Magazine article where the guy heard some of the new songs, 3 or 4 new songs, and he said one of them was still just an acoustic demo. So that, I mean, it sounds to me like that's, nowhere near being finished. I think Songs of Experience is
There's also the whole talk that Bono had a year ago about how they were trying to work with Apple to redesign the iTunes page stuff, and that they wanted a fully immersive experience with listening to the music and this new app or whatever. There was a whole back end that will probably come out when Songs of Experience comes out in order to really launch the album. And I think that the album will be released when the technology is ready to do that grander design, because they're only going to be able to do it once, and they don't want to flub this one up. They don't want to upset Larry again.
You can't see the comments, but your husband is being very funny in the comments right now. He said, when is the iPhone 6S coming out? I'm assuming Songs of Experience is preloaded on it. And coincidentally, there is a big Apple announcement coming on Tuesday of this week. So, yeah, who knows? All right, done answering that one. All right, do we have anything else? Oh, well, there's a question from your husband. Let's answer a question from your husband. This is cool. They're actually like getting actual questions using the Q&A, which lets us test the software and all that sort of stuff, and that's awesome. So let's do this. This is from Steve, Caleb, U2. Did U2 and the music industry miss a huge opportunity to capitalize on live concert broadcasts now that MixLR and Periscope are so popular?
Yes. Sure. Yes. I believe that in this particular case, there are too many legal entities that would have to be involved in offering the live U2 stuff. You would have the label, you'd have Live Nation, you have the band, you have so many different approvals that would have to be done, that if they were to offer the live discs to be downloaded or immediately after the concert, there's too many approvals that would have to be made, and I think that the band definitely missed the boat on this one. They could have totally done a Pearl Jam thing from about a decade ago. I
would have loved if they would do that kind of thing. I mean, I think I wouldn't put it past them eventually doing that. I wonder if all that legal stuff and the contracts and all that, being part of the machine, I just wonder if that is part of the reason that we don't get things like that. Who knows?
Plus, they would have to give a whole ton of royalties to all of the snippets that they steal from, like, Judy Collins again.
All right, so I think we can see that we have a good friend online.
Hey,
Hey, Beth, how are you?
good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. You are also up late on a Sunday night, but I'm guessing tomorrow's holiday for you as well, so it's okay.
It's good. It's not a school night.
Thank goodness for that. So everyone say hi to Beth. This is Beth from at Beth and Bono. I was going to say at Beth and Chris, but Beth and Bono gets top billing.
And the U2 Tattoo Project.
I was just going to say, and from the U2 Tattoo Project. So Beth, how is Tattoo Project going while they are in Europe and you are in the U.S.?
Frustrating that we have to stay on our soil. It's good. It's a little quiet when we're off the road, but we're making big plans, hoping that those involve Dublin. But we're still moving on it, working on the website, working on setting some things up for the future, and really mining the data that we got, looking at the tattoos, looking at the interviews, and trying to make some sense of it.
So it's. I mean, I've seen and I assume people have seen the website now, where you've got photos. What are you going to do with everything that you've collected while the North American tour was going on?
Well, so Chris and I are both really approaching it as data. I'm approaching it from my specialty, which is graphic design and digital media. He's approaching it from anthropology, and so I started off just you guys have addressed on your site before in interviews with Steve Averill that U2 doesn't really have a logo. So with that in mind, I set out in search of how do U2 fans brand themselves. So I was just curious to see what marks people are getting on their bodies. U2 has such a rich visual history of marks, but nothing singular and as iconic as something like the lips, tongue, and the Beatles logo, the Who, and even more contemporary stuff. So for me, it's been an exploration and looking at it as branding, literal branding. And Chris is just, studying why are people doing this to their bodies. So I'm going through looking at the frequency of different tattoos, looking at, what lyric shows up the most, and so just stuff like that. We don't know all our questions yet. That's kind of coming as we study everything.
That's just out of curiosity. Have you thought about contacting tattoo artists to ask them how many of their clients come in asking for U2 tattoos?
Yes, we're looking at that angle. We've had the chance to talk to a few because we've tagged along on now 3 sort of spontaneous tattoos that resulted from the meet and greets with like a quick Bono doodle. So so we got to go along and see people get that tattooed. And the tattoo artists aren't fazed at all. They're like, yeah, sure. We walk in going, wow, how crazy is this? And they're like, I've seen crazier. So, but yeah, it's really cool to hear them talking about it. And they're so accommodating too. They let us into their studios. They let us film. They, have no problem signing waivers. So it's been awesome.
I have a friend who's a huge movie fan who is covering his entire body with scenes from movies. Like he's got Bruce Willis from Die Hard covering this shoulder, and his arm is going to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger from The Terminator or something like that. It's people it's very serious business, Beth.
Oh yeah, yeah, and there's always a story behind a tattoo, is what we quickly learned. I mean, it went from being, which one, is there an unofficial tattoo or logo? Is it the tree? Is it heart and suitcase? Is it Zoo Baby, which seem to be the 3 most frequent? To wow, like why do people do this? And then it relates back to Scott Calhoun is doing U2 fan stories, and there's a lot of overlap because they're U2 fan stories. Like why there's always a really fascinating reason behind why somebody did it.
Very cool. Very cool. Beth, I don't know at what point you were able to join us on the chat. Did you hear us chatting about the Dublin news and all that sort of stuff?
I came in, when I saw the tweet, the tweet was 22 minutes prior to when I logged in, so I think I may have missed that.
Okay. Are you giving any thought to going to Dublin?
Oh, yes. There were some explosions on messages and texts with Chris and some other friends about if we can make it happen. But what are we making happen? We don't know yet. So we all just keep saying, well, let's see what Wednesday brings. But yeah, if it's I don't know if there's been any speculation on when exactly. I keep, for some reason, I'm putting it at Thanksgiving. Is that the thought?
Yeah, pretty much, Beth.
Yeah,
that's our guesstimate.
It's like the 25th through the 28th or somebody said that there's a I don't remember the details, but there's a show happening.
3 arenas open from the 21st to the 28th.
There you go.
If it's Dublin, if it's up in Belfast, there's similar dates.
Okay, then yeah, I mean we Chris and I are both academics, and we both have a short Thanksgiving holiday, but to me it seems like a natural decision to make. But I've never been to Ireland. It would be so frustrating to go for as short a time as I'd have to go. But it's research, so it makes sense to me.
Can you credit it as a tax deduction?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're writing all this off.
There we go.
Are you guys entertaining the notions?
I am going to be in. I'm not going. I don't know yet. I am likely to be in Dublin earlier in November on business, and so it would be very difficult for me to go back again, a week or 2 after that. So it's probably highly unlikely that I would go. However, Sherry.
And you call yourself a fan, Matt.
Yeah.
I should fire you from being the guy in charge of being in charge. My goodness.
Here I'm turning my fan card in right now.
Yeah, I bet this is the bucket list year. I have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting, but it's the Irish Times, which I don't know if you guys have already talked about. I mean, I know they've not always been the most reliable, and it's Bono who's definitely not the most reliable, but combined with.
Oh, good. So it's not just us who believes that.
Oh, I'm hugely skeptical, but hopeful. You know, it's just everything's kind of kept pointing to these dates. So yeah, so we're toying around with it, looking at our sad little bank statements and our time off, and
I think we all have sad little bank statements right about now, don't we?
yeah, my Amex account or my Amex statement that covers my New York stay comes due tomorrow, so that one's stinging a little bit, but it's only.
Ouch. All right. So as people noticed, this chat was, started out as just Sherry and I, and then we are able to bring guests in, like we have done with Beth, because I just have a little button over here that I can just invite. But I don't know who to use it on, because I don't know who all has video cameras, and so that's one of the things that we're going to have to get familiar with as we go. I mean, we've been going for almost an hour now, so I think we should probably start to wrap up here soon. But as we do more of these, I would love to just as somebody is having a cool conversation with us in the chat, we should just invite them and bring them in and get them on video if they have a camera and all that sort of stuff. So it worked. Beth, was it easy? After I send out the invite, what happens on your side?
Just have to click a few agreements to things, and then it plops me in the chat.
So it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I tried. When I saw that you guys were doing a chat, I was on my phone, and it let me into the Chromecast just fine. But then when I wanted to comment or ask a question, it wanted to authenticate with either Twitter, Facebook, or Google+. So I tried going through Twitter, and it just kind of spun and spun and spun. So I went analog with the desktop or the laptop.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Is there anything else we need to? What's up next? Like 2 shows, or not 2 shows, right? 4 shows.
4.
So
yep,
let me ask.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, I believe.
Ooh, so they're going to play Saturday and Sunday, which is college football second week and opening weekend of the NFL. I don't know if I'm going to be around.
Yeah, but the Super Bowl banner's getting raised on Thursday, so I don't need to watch any football on Sunday.
I need to watch some football on Sunday. So, all right.
Go Patriots!
Go Hawks! So there's one. Okay, so I got a question to ask, and we'll get both of you, and then if people want to leave comments too. This is one of the things that I wrote down as a note to talk about. So we've seen them make a couple little adjustments in the set list, and we now have streets in the main part of the show, the second set, right? Which is sort of where they were starting to add bad when bad got added. It used to be right towards the end of the second set, right? So let me ask you, based on what you guys heard on the streams these last couple days, now that we're going into Amsterdam, where we can assume there's 4 shows, they're going to make some more trade-outs of songs, where does bad fit into this show?
Encore.
You think?
Yeah.
Replacing something or in addition?
Probably like it was in Vancouver too.
You do this to me all the time. I don't remember Vancouver too.
You were there.
I know.
I filmed it.
I don't remember. It was a fantastic show. I just don't remember the set list.
It was the second song in the encore on Vancouver 2.
I'm gonna check.
It came just after City of Blinding Lights.
I'm checking if you were right. Hold on.
I
thought it was at the end of the main set.
Nope. No, it went City.
You're right. For crying out loud. You have like a photographic memory for set lists. That's incredible.
Maybe he'll keep you around.
Yeah, you know. I mean, I can see why it would be performed in that city. But interestingly enough, the main theme of the last 2 shows hasn't been about surrender. It hasn't been about. I mean, he would start the surrender theme at the beginning of the show, and he only mentioned it once night 1. I don't believe that it was mentioned at all in night 2. And normally when he starts with that surrender theme, it follows all the way through. And there really isn't anything to surrender with the refugee theme going on right now. That is the heartbeat of this show. That seems to be, and especially based on why Bono spoke in Milan today, I don't see that coming in Act 1 or Act 2. I believe that he will bring it into that encore. Beth, what are your thoughts?
Whatever Sherry says. No, my shows all blend together too, and so I'm in awe that you can keep them separated like that. I liked it later in the show too. I liked it in the encore. I saw over in the chat, Vid was saying it'd be cool to see it close out the E stage set, and I don't, you know, on the one hand, it's very intimate down there, and I'd love to see an intimacy brought to it. But I don't know. It kind of needs a little more room, maybe, and stays up front.
There's also people are chatting and using the chat to talk about ramen cookbooks.
Like noodles?
like noodles, yes. How did that happen? Okay, so we've got bad mixed in with ramen cookbooks in the chat. That's very Zoo TV, I think. I'm kind of struggling to wrap my head around this.
And will bad stay in the set list? I tuned in. I'm still catching up. Did it make an appearance both nights in Turin?
Didn't make an appearance
No.
either.
Neither night in Turin. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And neither did 40. There was a lot of hope that it would end night 2, especially with people trying to sing the refrain "How Long" during the break in between Acts 2 and the encore, but they didn't do it.
And your husband says it's the scary thing is not so much that Sherry remembers set lists, but that she remembers what Bono says in between songs too. It's a photographic memory. It's incredible. Amazing. All right. So I think we should probably wrap up because it's been about an hour, and I don't think that this is going to end up on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. By the way, did I mention that? This ends up on YouTube, guys. Sorry.
Matt, do you have a preview for OTR that you're about to publish in about an hour or two's time?
Do I have to write that this week?
Yes, this is your week.
Uh-oh. I'll get writing right now. So we actually do have to wrap this up because I have some things to do apparently. But speaking of preview, though, 2 things. Number 1, this week when we tape the podcast, we're going to try to do it live, where it'll be kind of like this, but just no video. So we'll send out a link and say, if you want to actually listen to us record this thing, warts and all, mistakes and all, edits and all, go to this URL. There'll be a little chat room. People can talk to us as we record the podcast. So that, I think, is going to be Wednesday night, but that's up to Chris, the host, so I'm not positive on that. Should be Wednesday night. And then I just convinced our resident genius and artist extraordinaire, Kelly Eddington, to come in and do one of these video chats with us. So we can chat with her about her Octoon babies and show some of her favorites and have people talk to her and ask her questions. So we just have to schedule that. It's just a matter of when she's available and when we can all do this and all that sort of stuff. So I hope that you guys can tune in for that and chat with Kelly Eddington when she comes on.
Awesome.
Awesome. She's amazing. That makes me feel so talentless.
That's right. So she's like light years, you know, in terms of you know, what her skill and what she does. Yeah, just above anything I could ever do. That's for sure.
I had to change my Twitter handle picture to the bald eagle Larry from her latest Octoon. It just moved me so much that I had to change that.
The end, where, like, she emails me these, and so I get to see them before everybody else as I'm posting them and all this sort of stuff, and I got to the very last slide with the huge plot twist where, you know, while Adam and Edge are at our party. She's got Larry and Bono working at her house. Oh my God, I almost did myself. The funniest thing she's ever done. It was so perfect. So
The party that shall not be named.
That's right. We're not allowed to talk about the party. So, okay. So we are going to wrap up. And Beth, thank you for hopping on with us. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I hope you will do it again, please.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite. Love
Awesome.
it talking to you guys.
Sherry, thank you, and we will do this again for sure. And thank you to the 40 or 50 or so people that tuned in, it looks like. And if you missed any of it, there'll be a replay on YouTube shortly, probably later tonight. So adios, thanks for watching, and we will do it again soon. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.